You ever heard the topic of Fibonacci's or U patterns or basing pattern reversals or flags? Well, all these kind of seem to go together. Let's look at an example today of Ralph Lauren, ticker RL. Now, these patterns using Fibonacci's or basing pattern reversals that look like U's or V's or flags, you could see them on different types of charts. And it's not just stock specific and it's not duration specific. They could be on 1 year daily charts, 3 year weeklies, as we'll see in just a moment. If we said, what pattern in the market do we see the most? It's what we're talking about. So you want to be made aware of the patterns and how they potentially could play out. So number one, in this, I'm just going to kind of draw this a little bit, kind of guide your eyes where we see like a prior high, right? Then we actually see a pullback and we're basing. Now, many technicians might call that maybe a triple quad bottom, right? On the top hand side, we saw a couple touches, about 3 touches there. And we see that it kind of had a basing pattern. We had a range. We had 327, we had 350. What happened? Price broke out above that range, went up to the prior high. Now, what do we call 2 prior highs that have a distance between them? Welcome to double tops. Well, if we look at this, this is kind of showing your classic cup. So when I say cup, we're actually seeing that this right here from there down, okay, then kind of the sideways consolidation, run back to the upside, there's your cup. Now, what's the significance? When you see these type of patterns that look like U's or V's, this is where people might use a tool called Fibonacci retracements or extensions. Now, before I show that, I want to just kind of add one more piece to this. What do you notice on the right-hand side? You're saying, James, you didn't draw the flag. Well, this pullback, which didn't last very long, kind of lasted about 3 days, and then today we see a little pop back to the upside. Well, so let's kind of now bring this up. So I missed that. So there's your kind of handle piece of this. So the first piece of this was cup. The right-hand side, handle. The handle being a flag. Now, if we were to go down to this bottom right-hand side, click on the active tool, and let's now bring up the percent there. It's also known as, the icon is a percent. But the tool we're talking about is Fibonacci retracements. Now, if we take a look at this, we're going to draw this. We could draw it one of 2 ways. We could draw from low to high. And if we draw from low to high, the biggest reason why we're doing that is we don't want to see the upside extension. If I draw from high to low, and we draw from the bodies of the candles where we're getting the most touches, if I draw from high to low, I'm now going to get the extensions on the top. So when I say the word extension, I'm talking about the 161, the 200, the 261 extension, and so on. Okay? So if you say, James, I drew this, but mine are not showing the extensions, draw high to low. Okay? Now, the one thing I want to do is I want to kind of go back. Let me zoom in on this. There you go. And that way we can kind of see those numbers a little bit better. Now, what do people use it for, right? Well, these Fibonacci's percentages are really based on numbers. Okay? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, number 8, number 13, and so on. The percentages are based upon those Fibonacci numbers being the low number being divided into the bigger number, or the big number being divided by the lower number. That is what's getting us the percentages. Now, if you take a look at this, what do investors use the Fibonacci's for? The answer is potential support and resistance levels. Now, if we take a look at this, if the investor was looking at this chart and saying, James, could the chart go up? What might be a forecast that other investors might be using to measure? Well, they might be looking at the 161 extension, which is the 416. One thing that some technicians like to add is the 200. The 200 is not a Fibonacci, but it is the channel width, okay? Going from 330 up to 383. It's taking that distance in dollar amount adding it on top, and that actually gives us the 437. But how do you add that, you might say? Well, simple. Right click on, let's say, any of the lines, right click, edit properties, and you could just add, if you say I don't have that, you could just add one by putting a number 2 and just make sure you put a check mark. Okay? That number 2 will represent 200%. Now, in the current market, there are so many examples of U patterns, V patterns, cup and handles on the daily charts. But I want to kind of show you how this is played out on a weekly chart. So let me kind of take this off for just a sec. How do we get this off? Let's right click. Let's actually go clear drawing set. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back this off for just a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this on a longer term chart. Let's start with a 3-year weekly. So if I click on the D, go to 3-year weekly. Has there been other times on this chart where we have seen these type of patterns before? Let me draw them for you so we could see them. So number one is we kind of see this little pullback right here, okay? And then it kind of based and it rallied back to the upside. Now, I want you to notice something right here, that this right there was the horizontal resistance. Notice when it broke above right there, the new high, it pulled back, but it used the old resistance as what? The new potential support. So example given of a previous cut back in 2023 was right there. Now, the other times is every time that it runs up and pulls back, is it always going to break out to the upside? No, it didn't do there. It took it the second time where it actually fell down, rallied back to the upside. Now, if I look at this resistance, it was a little bit more of a double top. You're going to notice similar price action though. It ran to the upside a little bit and then consolidated using old resistance as new potential support. The reason why a bullish investor cares about Fibonacci retracement and or let's say U patterns, V patterns, cup and handles and so on, they're looking for price continuation on a daily or weekly chart. That's why it matters, okay? Now, if we also go back, let me take this back, and what you're now going to notice is, did we see any other time? Yes, we did. Can you see it? Dead center of the page, isn't it? You see it. You're saying, James, I see it. Good. Now what you're going to see is we look at the prior high. We fall down. Notice where we fall down to. Old resistance becoming new potential support. It looks so easy when you look back on it, right? That's how it feels. And now what you're going to see is we rally back to the upside. Notice the symmetry of that, where the drop was about as steep as the ascension back to the upside, irregardless. If we look at this, there's the resistance. Now, when we had that V pattern right there, was there like a flag, a pullback? Yeah, there was. Now, be careful. Whenever you're thinking about, yeah, I want a good handle, I want a good multi-week pullback. Well, you might be wanting that, but other investors might not be wanting that. They might be buying on the dip and they're making that pullback shallower, maybe shorter in duration, and that handle is a little thinner. Shallower pullback, shorter in duration is not a negative thing if you're a bullish investor. It just means it's keeping more momentum and that it's even closer to resistance. Now, how did it play out? Last one. You're going to see that it broke out. Same thing. Went to a brand new high, pull back, old resistance, new support. Now, what's the takeaway from this session here? Okay, in 10 minutes or less. Well, it's the point that patterns can play themselves out. And the patterns can repeat themselves. It's not saying that everyone's going to go to the upside, but it's very important that you actually understand that be prepared for this type of pattern to potentially play out. Look for those setups, okay? Now, if you said, hey, where could we actually go to see more about this? Today, I'll be teaching this on this exact topic on the advanced charting at 1 p.m. Eastern, okay? And that's being recorded. You could actually find those recordings right on youtube.com. Type in Trader Talks Schwab Coaching Webcast, and you can actually subscribe to that for free. That session will be recorded to this page, so check it out. Also, last thing, make sure you follow me right on X, as I also post educational examples throughout the week. Join us.